Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
We'll get our annual update on the business of LSU athletics when Joe Alleva, Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics at LSU, joins us when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
The Work Ready You program changed my life. There's opportunities for everything. You could be a welder, you could be a nurse. You can take any trade you want, and it's free. I dreamed of it as a kid, be successful, making a life for myself and making me a family. I always dreamed of it, but I never thought that I would be here, and dreams come true.
For your free high school equivalency training, text diploma to 55,000 or give us a call.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Joe Alleva, Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics at LSU, is our guest. Joe, welcome back.
It's great to be with you again, my friend.
Always happy to have you. We talked about it in the open. LSU is big business in Louisiana, the LSU athletics, and so we're always happy to get the annual update. But we always start here with personal interest. And so I wanted to ask you something a little bit different. What are the most significant changes to the job since you came here now, 10, 11 years ago?
Yeah, my 11th year now.
Yeah. What's changed the most in the landscape of big-time college athletics?
I think the biggest change is social media. Social media has really changed where, everyone's out there putting their news out there. And a lot of times there's no accountability for what's being said. The normal, the old routine media sources are not as prevalent as they used to be.
They're not as powerful.
They're not as powerful as they used to be, and I think that's the biggest change. Other than in our league, the SEC network has been a big change in the last 4 or 5 years, but social media has really changed the game significantly in my world.
It's changed the landscape. Young people are able to communicate directly. People pick that up. Actually, the traditional media outlets pick that sort of stuff up. I was watching early this morning Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers on Instagram and creating a sort of a fury over his comments. So I can understand that clearly. What's the best part of your job, Joe?
Well, the best part of my job, without a doubt, is watching young people come in as basically kids out of high school and watching them mature, grow, get educated, and leave as men and women and prepared for society to go out in the real world and help and do things to help society. Without a doubt, the best part of my job is getting to know and help and mentor young people.
One of the things, as I pay close attention to LSU athletics, and I do, that I have been so proud of over the course of the last 10 or 11 years, particularly during your tenure, is the academic performance of our student athletes. I know, because you and I have had the conversation annually and other times when we've been together, how proud you are of that fact as well. LSU student athletes are competing academically with every other school in the country and certainly every other school in our conference. Talk about the things that you've had to do to ensure that academic success.
Well, when I got here, our graduation rate was in the 60s, 60%, and now it's close to 90%. And that's not by accident. We've invested a lot of money in tutors and learning specialists and support staff in the academic center, and we hold our coaches responsible too to make sure our kids go to class and do the right thing. So to me, I want to win games. Don't get me wrong. I want to win.
Everyone does,
I want to
right?
win in everything. But I also want to win in the classroom, because at the end of the day, those kids need their degrees.
Yeah, only a small percentage of those, even though it is maybe a higher percentage at LSU than other places, are going to go on and play in professional sports. And so preparing them for their long-term careers is critically important. You guys have done a great job. Let's talk about the status, the state of LSU athletics. So we were looking at some things that my son sent me earlier this morning. And as we sit here and tape, maybe 10 days or so before the show actually airs, we finished number 6 in the country in football. We have the number 3 to 5 to 6 ranked recruiting class, depending on what outlet you look at. Our recruiting class for 2020 currently ranked number 1 in the country. Basketball is just lights out, on the verge of being top 10 with, by the time this show airs, a big game will have already been played against Tennessee. You look at LSU softball and LSU gymnastics, both in the top 10. Look at LSU baseball is number 1. It's a pretty good time to be a sports fan at LSU, and quite frankly, you deserve some credit for that, Joe. Give us an overview from your perspective.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm really pleased with the group of coaches that we have. It all starts with your coaches and their leadership. And you mentioned Coach Ogeron. He's done a tremendous job leading the program, assembling a really good group of assistant coaches, and he's a tireless recruiter. And he has a great relationship with our players. And you can go right through. Will Wade, in basketball, it's easier to turn it around quickly, and he's had a great recruiting class. He's got a great mix of some older kids and freshmen. So I think that's what helps, having Skylar Mays as a junior and Bigsby Williams as a senior. And of course, Tremont Waters. Everything runs through him. So he's got a really talented team that could go a long way.
This may be Paul Maneri's best baseball team. It possibly could be.
I was just going to get to him next. I think it's a terrific class, man. What makes it so special is that he got those juniors to come back and be seniors. And that's really special when you get those kids to come back. They give you the leadership combined with the tremendous freshman class that he has. He's got a great freshman class.
Yeah,
so
baseball is going to be big. Our expectations put so much pressure on these coaches, but we're put in a position here with LSU baseball that if we don't make it to Omaha and at least make it to the championship round, you're going to look at a season and say maybe it wasn't a success. And then you look at Beth Torino in softball, and you look at Dee Dee Bro in gymnastics. We're packing the PMAC for gymnastics of all things. That's got to make you proud.
I was just at a gymnastics meet the other day, and it's amazing the young people that come. The 10, 11, 8, 9-year-old kids with their parents. It's a real spectacle, and we put on a great show in gymnastics. It's a real show, and those young ladies are so talented. The things that they can do, it's just amazing. I
saw within the last week or so where one of the young ladies was on the ESPN top 10 plays for one of her performances. So it's really. Let's take a break. I want to come back and I want to get into the business of LSU athletics, because it is a critically important business for the economy in South Louisiana and, in fact, for the state as a whole. I want to talk about facility upgrades. I want to talk about the impact of the SEC network that you mentioned. So there's a lot for us to unpack as we go along. We're visiting with Joe Alleva. He's the Director of Athletics at LSU and Vice Chancellor. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Promoting workplace safety and family wellness. That's our motto at Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. The Gulf Coast staff is made up of some of the most knowledgeable and hardest working medical professionals in Louisiana. We care about your safety and your bottom line. With 8 convenient locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, our services include injury management, physical exams, medical surveillance, and substance abuse testing. For more information, visit us on the web at gcombr.info and ride the wave to safety.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
The 1012 Industry Report is excited to announce the 1012 Industry Weekly. This e-newsletter is free and comes to your inbox every Tuesday. All you have to do is sign up at 1012industryreport.com. 1012 Industry Report is an award-winning magazine serving South Louisiana's petrochemical and oil and gas industries. From Lake Charles to Baton Rouge and New Orleans, we cover the news, people, projects, and issues that matter to industry. The 1012 Industry Report magazine and weekly email. Sign up today.
I just see the positive things on the horizon, and BRAC is a real integral part of that.
BRAC's taken a very forward role in trying to help align people and align strategies and align solutions.
You'll find that you'll have an opportunity at BRAC to make a difference.
It's about being a part of conversations and really having a voice in terms of how we move the city forward.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics at LSU, Joe Alleva, is our guest. Joe, you think about the economic impact, the hiring, the jobs, the revenue, the payroll, the things that we talk about constantly on this show in all types of businesses. And you think about that in terms of LSU athletics. And it is significant, and it has been significant for a while. I want to get into the SEC network and the game changer that has been a little bit later, but talk about the economic impact of the organization that you are responsible for.
Yeah, our budget's around $135 million a year. We employ about 300 full-time employees. Believe it or not, we employ around 3,000 employees for a football game. Between all the people that it takes to work a football game, around 3,000.
That's amazing.
It's been said that the economic impact on the Baton Rouge and the surrounding area for just football season is around $350 million a year.
Wow.
So it's not insignificant what we bring to the community and how we help the state with its income.
Well, and if you think about, salaries and the payroll that turns over, it's significant, obviously, for those 300 plus full-time employees. And just a football game, the hotels and the restaurants.
Right.
You think about the baseball games and the same thing, the surrounding restaurants. Basketball now, with the way it's coming back. We talked about how we're filling the PMAC for gymnastics. There is an economic ripple that takes place because of the success of those programs. The economic impact is significant always, but certainly even more significant when Tiger Stadium is full and the PMAC is full and Alex Box Stadium is full, and we're seeing that.
Yes, we are. And, we have great fans. We have passionate fans, and it's so fun for me to see the PMAC packed and loud and exciting over football. Over basketball.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's just a great experience.
Well, I was a student there, I guess, in the mid to late 80s, and of course going to games there in the late 70s and early 80s when Dale Brown really had it going. And we've gone to a few games here lately where that old sort of familiar environment was back in the PMAC, and I know that we're looking forward to a lot more of those as we go along. One of the things I think that's significant that maybe not a lot of folks know when they think about LSU athletics, two things really. One, that you are completely self-funded. There are no state dollars, tax dollars that come to support LSU athletics. And on top of that, you have given a significant amount of money back to the academic side of the university each year.
Yeah, we have. Over the last 5 years, we've probably given back around $50 million to the university. And a lot of that was able to be done because of the SEC network. And I'm so happy that we were able to do that and proud we were able to do that. I think the days of us being able to give back that kind of money are kind of over because the SEC network is plateaued. Mm-hmm. For years it kept increasing. Every year the revenue kept going up, but now it's pretty flat.
Yeah.
So, and our expenses keep going up. So I don't know if we're going to be able to keep doing that in the future, but I'm really proud that we were able to do it in the past 5 or 6 years.
And certainly when LSU, from a funding standpoint on the academic side, was suffering a little bit because of cuts from the state, you were able to come in and support that. And I think that the impact of that is something we'll see. Even if it shrinks over the next few years, we'll see the impact of that support going on a long way. You mentioned the SEC network, and it really was a game changer, right? Significantly increased the profit sharing, the revenue sharing that is done from the conference. Talk about that a little bit, Joe, in terms of where we were prior to the SEC network and maybe where we are today.
Well, currently we get from the SEC around $42 million a year. Now that includes the network. The network's around 14 million of that 42 million. So before the network, it was 14 million less,
right.
Okay? But that 42 million includes bowl games, television money other than the network.
NCAA tournament, all of those sort of
tournament
things.
money, and we share equally. So whether we go to a bowl game or whether we go to the NCAA tournament, all the money goes into a pot and all 14 schools share it equally.
That keeps the competitive balance, or at least in part helps to keep the competitive balance where you want it. Because although there are schools that have had great success, LSU had a great run in football for a number of years where we were sort of dominant. Alabama's had a pretty good run, even though I hate to say that. Kentucky in basketball, obviously, really strong. But being able to share the revenue equally among all the institutions is critically important for the competitive balance that you need in your league to make sure it stays strong.
It really isn't critical. We look at everybody in the conference as family. So we share 14 ways equally, and it wouldn't be right if we didn't do it that way. It would create a much greater competitive disadvantages for people.
You mentioned, and we've talked about obviously, what a game changer the SEC network has been. What's next out there? Is there another game changer that you see on the horizon? Maybe not one that has been as significant as the SEC network has been, but are there discussions going on behind the scenes? Is there something else out there that you know of?
No, not anything as significant as that. And you know, and what we're getting to too also is there's a lot of other factors coming into viewing sports. You know, you have your staple media outlets, right? You know, your ESPNs and your CBSs. But there's a lot of new competitors coming into the market that the next time we come up for bidding, there may be some new people bidding on it that may change the whole financial impact on how games are watched.
Well, if you think about, you know, different organizations, you've got your standard networks, you've got your standard sports networks, but now you've got the Netflix of the world, and you've got Facebook and Instagram where things can be streamed.
Right.
I watched the LSU Kentucky game in a meeting on my telephone a couple of weeks ago, which is just an outstanding thing to be able to do. But one of the things that does cause, and it's something I want to get into a little bit in the next segment, is it causes folks in your line of work to think about that game day experience and how you can keep fans coming to the arena. So what I'd like to do is take a break. I want to come back and I want to talk specifically about the game day experience, what you're doing to keep the fans coming to the game, the impact that television networks have had and the quality of the television sets. And I also want to talk about other facility expansions that are going on, because it's an arm race out there, I know, and we're constantly spending money on those things. We're visiting with Joe Alleva. He's the Vice Chancellor and Director of Athletics at LSU. And you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
What if I said that whatever good things you build you? And that in this economy, sweat never loses its value? What if I said that there isn't a challenge in the world too great for a craft professional with the right tools? And that the steps that lead from where you are to where you want to be can only be built by you? Build your future at byf.org. ExxonMobil Baton Rouge keeps the local economy rolling. Our new aviation project created hundreds of jobs, drove millions of dollars to local businesses, and poured thousands more into our community to improve schools. 1 in 8 jobs in our parish can be traced back to ExxonMobil. Tomorrow's Baton Rouge is built by what we do today. A little energy goes a long way. ExxonMobil Baton Rouge. Energy lives here.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Joe Alleva, Director of Athletics at LSU, is our guest. We talked a little bit about this double-edged sword, right? So the SEC network has pumped all this new revenue in, but now every game's on television, every game's in high def, everyone's got these big screen televisions. So keeping people coming to the venues on Saturday nights in the fall, or coming to the LSU basketball games, which hasn't been much of a problem lately, or coming out to Alex Box Stadium when everything is on TV, is a real challenge for you and your team. Talk about that.
It is a real challenge, and the first thing you have to do to keep people coming out is win.
That's right.
Because that's the biggest factor. If people are excited and they're passionate about what's going on, they're going to come. But once they get there, we need to try to make sure that we have, clean restrooms for them, reasonably priced food, and we try to have the best video that we have going on our scoreboard so that it's kind of emulating what's going on at their house. So, those are the most important things. At some point, we've talked about this in the past, at some point, I'd like to be able to serve alcohol at games. Yeah. And we're opening up some selective areas where we're doing that now. We started one at Alex Box. We've had one very successful at Tiger Stadium. So we're looking at ways that we can do that. I think sometime down the road, the SEC will allow us, each institution, to have the autonomy to do what they want when it comes to that.
Well, Joe, aren't there conferences around the United States that do allow that? And we're
the only conference in the country that doesn't allow it.
That doesn't? I didn't realize that.
How about that? The only one that doesn't allow it. All the other conferences allow each school to make their own decision.
Right.
If you want to do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't.
Well, it seems like the SEC is so forward-thinking in so many ways that this is an area that it really is behind and maybe needs to play some catch-up on, because I do think that does make a difference for a certain number of fans, and we'll see how that works out. But when we talk about that game day experience, part of that is the venue, right? The cathedral of college football, a top 5 baseball facility in America, a top 5 softball facility in America. We're thinking about all these wonderful facilities that we've put together now, the Football Operations Center that's going through an upgrade as we speak, and real changes planned for the PMAC. You've built a beautiful new tennis facility. I mean, all of these things that you've invested in with the help of the Tiger Athletic Foundation. Talk about where our facilities are now and sort of some of the things that are planned as we go forward.
Yeah, you mentioned football ops. Football ops will open up again in July. It will be probably the best in the country. How long it'll be the best in the country, I don't know, because every day someone's doing something, but ours is going to be spectacular when it opens up. It'll have a nutrition center where we'll be able to feed our athletes in there. People that need to gain weight, they'll be working on gaining weight. Those that need to lose weight, they can lose weight. It'll be fantastic. So, we've got the best gymnastics facility in the country.
I didn't even mention that.
We've got the best softball stadium in the country. I'm telling you, we're building an addition right now that'll open up, that'll have new batting cages. It'll have an indoor infield where they'll be able to take infield practice indoors for softball. Baseball's getting a new weight room that's going to be spectacular. That'll open up in about another month or so. Everyone knows what we've done to Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium, we're going to keep trying to improve it and make it better. But the next thing that we need to look at is the PMAC. We need to make sure we keep the PMAC up to date. We probably need a weight room for basketball and volleyball. We need to make sure we spruce up the PMAC and keep that where it should be.
I know that there have been some plans discussed, at least, to reduce the capacity of the PMAC and maybe put some suites in and some other things. You've heard all these things talked about. But you and I were joking off air. I don't know how you reduce the capacity of the PMAC now, because Will Wade's filling it up.
And so's gymnastics filling it up.
Exactly. So
you're right.
It's a little bit of a dilemma there to think about what do you do with a building like that was built and opened in 1972, and how do you keep it updated? The new basketball practice facility is spectacular, and so we'll keep looking for those things. One of the things I know, and you see it when you go to LSU athletic events, the sponsorship and the support of the business community statewide, critically important to what you do in terms of your revenue and your ability to compete in the conference. You guys have done a really nice job. Talk about that specifically, Joe, and in general, why it's so important that the Louisiana business community support LSU athletics.
Well, our corporate partners are really very important. Not only do they bring in money, but they bring in fans and support. You know, we do a tremendous amount of revenue from their support, but they also buy suites and club seats and entertain. It's a great marriage that we have with the corporate partners that we have sponsoring LSU athletics, and it helps us compete. You know, it helps us compete, and I hope that we help them compete at what they're doing when we provide entertainment for them.
I don't think there's any question about that, and if you think about the organization that has really worked to transform the investment in LSU athletics, the Tiger Athletic Foundation, and the work that it's done over the last 25 or 30 years, it is made up of those business people. Talk a little bit about the TAF, your relationship with them and the role that they have played.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned them, because, you know, we've got a TAF board that are all volunteers. They volunteer their time and their effort. They provide great leadership and support and help. We have a great marriage with athletics and TAF. They've primarily been the builders of our facilities and the financiers of our facilities. It's been a great partnership, and without them we wouldn't be able to compete at the level that we are competing at.
You think about the investment that they've made and the upgrades to all of these facilities and the building of the new facilities. You mentioned, I didn't even mention the new gymnastics facility, which was without a doubt arguably the best in the world for what it's intended to be, and you can see that's part of the great success. We think about the next football season, we think about the ongoing basketball season, we think about the baseball season that has begun now, we think about softball, we think about gymnastics, we think about all of these wonderful programs, track ranked in the top 10 in both men's and women's. 15 seconds, what's on the horizon? What do we have to look forward to other than this continued success?
Well, I believe very strongly that every day either you get better or you get worse. Nothing stays the same. So every day I challenge my staff to how can we get better? So no matter how little it might be, we need to keep getting better every day.
And you're doing it. And as an LSU grad and as a rabid LSU fan, we have certainly over the last 15 years or so, 20 years, been in the golden age of LSU athletics. Keep it going, my friend. I'm proud to be an LSU grad and LSU fan, and we'll have you back again next year to talk about it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.